Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Nami, Gora Karuna Swalpaya, Radha Krishna Prastayate. Krishna Prastaya Devi Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Ora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastaya Devi Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayana 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 Shri Krishna Chaitanya Krishna Nayana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayana Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gauranga 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 Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Bhajan Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Vasade Gauranga Vrinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasade Gauranga Vrinda Gopala Govinda Rama Krishna Madana Mohana Krishna Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Krishna Madana Mohana Krishna Gopala Govinda Rama Siddhaswarupananda
Krsna,
Paramahamsa.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prasnayate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Ora Karuna Swarupaya Hare Krishna Prasnayate.
So this morning, I'd like to reiterate something about what we're doing so we can have a clear grasp of the direction we are heading. So the process we engage in is the process of loving remembrance to the Supreme Person. It's about Bhakti Yoga. So the purpose of remembering and having this recall of the Supreme Person, a process that is descending, coming from His confidential loving servant, the spiritual master, who is the resident of the spiritual world, who is the representative of the Supreme Person, and our instructing spiritual master coming in the long line of spiritual master, all maidservant of Radha and Krsna, gives us this narrative of the teachings of Lord Vyasadeva, the literary incarnation of the Supreme Person, so we can have a focus upon what is transcendental or spiritual. Because yesterday the discussion was about gravity, about our shackle, about our encumberment, or the anchor that has anchored us in this material world. It is about hearing sound of mundane sound that is temporary and not connected with life, not connected with the source of happiness. That's why we are always longing, searching, but a misdirection of that focus because we are so contaminated with materialism, the disease of materialism, and this we are so much engrossed, false ego, doing our will, trying to choke our life by our own endeavor, and the destiny or the focus is about this world. So now, let's hear from our instructing spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, passing on to us this story of Lord Krishna that happened 5,000 years ago, when Lord Krishna came to this planet and exhibited His pastimes to show us how He protects His devotee, how He cares, to show us that if only we can remember the Supreme Person and be focused in our relationship with Him by doing His will, then success is guaranteed. We all want to succeed. But from what field, from what platform, from what goal. So this science is an eternal science, absolute. That when Lord Krishna came to this planet, exhibited these pastimes to encourage us, to entice us, to canvas, to tell us to go back home where we really belong. A world of loving service, devotion, in harmony with God's pleasure, with God's will. Because now, because of the false ego, we are in illusion of doing or engaging in something that we are not. Because we are eternally transcendental and the loving servant of the Supreme Person, and our activity should be action in His service. But that is not our case. That's why we are here, experiencing separation from Him. But that separation from Him can be transcendental when we remember His transcendental pastimes. So, the process we are engaging in is hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Person, especially His glories. It's connected with the yoga sound, the Maha Mantra. So, through this process that is descending, God, Lord Krishna, when we hear that from someone who is representing Him, the spiritual master, Krishna will manifest descending. When we become purified from all this misgiving and our devotion to Him has become one-pointedly directed to please Him. That is the science we are learning and trying to understand and engaging in and performing actual activities of life, the soul. It is meditation upon the Supreme Person. Okay? That is the process for liberation or freedom. That while even in this world, while we are in this world, in this body, we can be in that world. A world of connection with God's pleasure, God's will. Meaning, the mind, the meditation we're engaging in while we are here in this world, temporarily engaging in our daily activities, which are not eternal. It's all, we have become actors. It's like you go to the movie and you watch it and then you become so immersed in what is not really real or eternal. And then you become the actor. You think you're the body. You belong to a certain country. You know, you belong to a certain sect. You follow someone of this world. You surrender to an organization. So what we are trying to achieve is simply to be one-pointedly focused upon God's pleasure, the will of God. A relationship that had been deviated, all of us, because of our misconception, because of ignorance, being directed by the mind, influenced by the three modes of material nature. So all of us here, we are influenced by the three modes of material nature. And we can be in the world that is transcendental through this descending process. Because the medium we use is not our limited senses, our imperfect mind, and we don't imagine or speculate. We are not in delusion or illusion, trying to figure out what is beyond our mind, but rather, through God's blessing, God's mercy, we have come in contact with this confidential loving servant, the bona fide spiritual master, who is a pure loving servant of the Supreme Person, who has unalloyed devotion, and that is what he's teaching us. And the first step in the right direction is the chanting of the yoga sound that will purify our heart, purify our mind, and gives us this guidance within that we can be hearing the Lord within the heart, Paramatma, and be directed upon what we're longing for, the search for happiness, and that can be directed through the guidance of the Lord within the heart and our spiritual master. And the mind will just follow, because spiritual energy, the divine energy, is more powerful than matter. So in our study program, matter comes from the impersonal Brahman, the effulgence of God. So if we just simply engage in spiritual activities guided by Lord Krsna, then everything follows. It's like watering the root of the tree. It's about giving food to the stomach. Because what has been so hard to hurdle, the undaunting task to control the mind, can be focused upon that world activities in pleasing God. And Krishna will be our shelter, our guide, the Supreme Person, the cause of all causes, who is self-sufficient. And He is the one who will manifest, comes to us through the process of hearing. That's why it's very important to engage in deity worship, because we'll be seeing the Supreme Lord with our material eyes. And when our eyes becomes purified, not these eyes, we're able to see the Supreme Lord. And with the transcendental wisdom coming down from our instructing spiritual master, guided by the Lord within the heart, we can be in harmony with the transcendental world of pure devotional service. That should be our focus. So now when we are in that state, we will be guided, not by the mind, but rather the mind will just follow our heart's desire, which is focused upon doing the will of God. So the hurdle, success is achieved, because we are now under the divine energy of God. Pure devotional service, unalloyed service, because by nature, what is inseparable from us is service. And that service is based upon loving service, devotion. We're discussing here about love, about loyalty, about sacrifice, about engaging in activities to please someone, and that someone is a Supreme Person. Our friend, our Father. We long to experience eternality, but if we are not able to understand what is eternal, what is transcendental, then we will have no foundation for our quest. So that's why it's very important that we must first understand our true transcendental nature, the difference between matter and life, and us, life. A transcendental energy different from matter. When that is established, now we can be one-pointedly focused in that direction. That we are able to see now that
matter will not make me happy. And we also understand it belongs to God. And even now, I am sitting in this machine, this material body made of matter. And previously, the direction I'm engaging in, activities I do, causes so much pain to me because it separates me from life, from happiness, because it's misdirected upon this world. So the first experience, transcendental experience and realization, when one becomes purified through the holy names of God, he can see himself. He can understand his true transcendental nature. Then from that point, we can make now decision where we will be gliding, where we'll be focusing. So everything is clear. So the shelter we have is the representative of God. None other. The representative of God, God Himself. Because that is His instruction in Bhagavad Gita. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master, surrender unto Him, render loving service, inquire from Him. If you follow Him, you're doing my will, because He's none different from me. You can never separate His loving servant from Lord Krishna. Because when we discuss about devotional service, it is relationship, loving reciprocation. And in this world, it's a perverted relationship we engage in because it's connected simply with spirit, soul in different bodies. And we're playing the role, this false ego, of surrogate lover, surrogate mother, surrogate son, surrogate God. It must be purified with this wisdom, just like when there is light, there is no darkness. When you're thirsty, you drink the water, the substance water, then your thirst is quenched. So the spiritual master opens that door to us. And that door is God's love for us, His care for us. Not guided by the mind, the three modes of material nature, but rather on a transcendental experience wherein we, the person, can now make the right decision to do the will of God. It's our choice. We're not enslaved anymore because we can make that choice and be guided by God Himself. So, success is guaranteed. Okay? I'll read here the pastimes of Lord Krishna to show us how He protects His devotees. And also after that, we'll do japa yoga meditation so we can be in that world that is descending through the narrative that coming down, the pastimes of the Supreme Person that is eternally ongoing on in the spiritual world. That even now, it is still ongoing because we are given the opportunity to be in association with the representative of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, the Parampara or the spiritual master who is engaged eternally in devotional service, unalloyed, pure devotional service, made servant of Radha and Krishna, of Lord Nitai Gaur, Lord Chaitanya. I'll read here the story of the pastimes of Lord Krishna coming from Parampara, Lord Vyasadeva, translated into English by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And our spiritual master encourage us to remember the pastimes of the Supreme Person because it's purifying, it's enlightening, it gives life to us. It gives connection to with our heart, with our life, with the Supreme Person. We become convinced, not make believe. We become fixed because we taste now that eternal transcendental experience of remembering the pleasure, the happiness of the Supreme Person protecting His devotees. Because the whole point of what we're doing, we must become pure loving servant of the Supreme Person. That's all. No material consideration. The killing of Aghasura demon. We have, don't you notice every time there are pictures in front, that giant snake Aghasura appeared in Vrindavan to hurt or kill the Supreme Person sent by Kamsa. So when you see that picture, this great demon who has mystic power assumed the form of a serpent, giant serpent, that he opened his mouth, it reaches the sky. And the devotees who were playing with Lord Krishna saw this giant cave, but it's smelly and stinks like a smell of the fish, rotten fish. And they look at Lord Krishna and they enter that cave, the mouth of Aghasura. And their consciousness, their thinking, this snake, if he can swallow us, he cannot swallow Lord Krishna. They're convinced that Krishna will protect them. Once the Lord desired to go early in the morning, the killing of Aghasura demon. Once the Lord desired to go early in the morning with all his cowherd boyfriends to the forest where they assembled together and take lunch. As soon as he got up from bed, he blew the buffalo horn and called all his friends. Keeping the calves before them, they started to the forest. In this way, Lord Krishna assembled thousands of his boyfriends. They were each equipped with a stick, flute and horn as well, and lunch bag. And each of them was taking care of thousands of calves. All the boys appeared very jolly and happy in that excursion. Each and every one of them was attentive for his personal calves. So, an excursion. Okay? The boys were fully decorated with various kinds of golden ornaments, and out of sporting propensities, they began to pick up flowers, leaves, twigs, peacock feathers, and red clay from different places in the forest, and they began to dress themselves in different ways. While passing through the forest, one boy stole another boy's lunch package and passed it to a third. And when the boy whose lunch package was stolen came to know of it, he tried to take it back. But one threw it to another boy. This sportive playing went on amongst the boys as childhood pastimes. So you like to play eternally? Then we are all invited to that eternal world and play with Krishna eternally. Okay? This sportive playing went on amongst the boys as childhood pastimes. When Lord Krishna went ahead to a distant place in order to see some specific scenery, the boys behind him tried to run to catch up and be first to touch him. So there was a great competition. One would say, I will go and touch Krishna. And another would say, oh, you cannot go, I'll touch Krishna first. Some of them played on their flutes or vibrated bugles made of buffalo horn. Some of them gladly followed the peacocks and imitated the onomatopoetic sounds of the cuckoo. While the birds were flying in the skies, the boys ran after the bird's shadow along the ground and tried to follow their exact courses. Some of them went to the monkeys and silently sat down by them. and some of them imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some of them caught the tails of the monkeys and played with them. And when the monkeys jumped in a tree, the boys also followed them. When a monkey showed his face and teeth, a boy imitated and showed his teeth to the monkey. Some of the boys played with frogs on the banks of Jamuna. And when out of fear the frogs jumped in the water, the boys immediately dove in after them. They would come out of the water when they saw that their own shadow and stand imitating, making caricatures and laughing. They would also go to an empty well and make loud sounds. And when the echo came back, they would call it ill names and laugh. As stated personally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita, He is realized proportionately by transcendentalists as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, you can come and realize the impersonal aspect of God, Brahman, the cause of this material energy, the source, Brahman. You can also realize Paramatma, the Lord within the heart, or the Holy Spirit. But the highest is the realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing Him. Here in confirmation at the same statement, Lord Krishna, who awards the impersonalist Brahman realization by His bodily effulgence, also gives pleasure to the devotees as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are under the spell of external energy, Maya or illusion, take Him only as a beautiful child. Yet He gave full transcendental pleasure to the cowherd boys who played with Him only after accumulating heaps of pious activities. Those boys were promoted to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can estimate the transcendental fortune of the residents of Vrindavan? They were personally visualizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Once I recall, my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, tells us, when we chant the holy names, we become purified from this disease of materialism. And when the living entity us engage in devotional service, as much as we are engaging in, if you engage 10% of your time, of your life, then that will be your spiritual advancement. But here we're discussing and hearing those who are completely absorbed fully in pure loving service, loving surrender to the Supreme Person, doing His will, enjoying with Him. Yet He gave full transcendental pleasure to the cowherd boys who played with Him. Only after accumulating heaps of pious activities, those boys were promoted to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can estimate the transcendental fortune of the residents of Vrindavan? They were personally visualizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He whom yogis cannot find even undergoing severe austerities, although is sitting within the heart. This is also confirmed in Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma, the creator of this universe. Our Father. One may reach for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the pages of the Vedas and Upanishad. But if one is fortunate enough to associate with a devotee, he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. After accumulating pious activities in many previous lives, the cowherd boys were seeing Krishna face to face and playing with Him as a friend. So in our narrative previously, the importance of associating the value, the great, this boon or wealth is associating with the pure loving servant of the Supreme Person through his instruction. Just like when Narada Muni came in contact and Nala Kubera and Manigriva, who were sons of Kubera, engaging in simple activities, forgetting their true transcendental nature, just simply coming in contact with the pure loving servant of the Supreme Person, Narada Muni, they were blessed and they were able to see the Supreme Person, who is the Supreme Purifier, and they were able to be, they came to the point of wherein they were established back in their natural position as eternally the loving servant of the Supreme Person. But if one is fortunate enough to associate with a devotee, he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. After accumulating pious activities in many previous lives, the cowherd boys were seeing Krishna face to face and playing with him as friends. So now we are given this opportunity to see Krishna, the Supreme Person who is all-powerful, the source of matter and life, comes to us descending to the process of pure devotional service. We engage in seeing and worshiping Lord Krishna and chanting in front of Him. So when our eyes becomes purified, our spiritual eyes, then we can see the Supreme Person. So it is very important that we come and associate together and worship and glorify the Supreme Person. We cannot purify our own selves because we are not God. But the Supreme Person can purify us according to His sweet will and sweet desire, according to the mercy, the compassion, the love of His loving servant. He introduces us to Krishna, the Supreme Purifier. In this world, we bow down to material nature. The gravity, the shackle, the anchor, the focus, the dominator is material nature. But the science of pure devotional service, especially deity worship, brings us to this focus and meditation that our material eyes becomes purified, the mind becomes purified, and our longing for one thing in our heart to see the Supreme Person is achieved by the process itself, the deity worship. So the 9 process of devotional service, even one, will lead us to transcendental success of Krishna, the Supreme Person, noticing us when we become purified from all this misgiving or material disease, and we are now situated in an unalloyed pure devotional service, because the Supreme Person knows our heart, our desire, and He's there to assist us, to guide us. So the more we follow the process, the more we're able to be directed by the Lord within the heart. And the Supreme Person is the source of joy and happiness. He is the one who can satisfy our longing for love, our longing for shelter, the Supreme Person. And we can now understand that He is a person. We can relate to Him because He descends to us. He manifests descending. That's why the effect of chanting the holy names, remembering Him, Krishna manifests. The pastimes of Lord, the Lord manifests in our mind. Krishna, the Lord within the heart, help us remember all the transcendental pastimes, the narrative that we hear coming down from His confidential loving servant. That when Lord Chaitanya was here in this planet, He sees river, He remembers Jamuna. He sees boys and kids playing, He remembers the coward boys. He's in this loving meditation of loving separation, remembering the Supreme Person. So our situation now, here, although everything belongs to God, matter or spiritual, all of you are children of the Supreme Person, divine energy, life. So when we engage in this practice, it is an eternal practice that even the Supreme Person, the Supreme Enjoyer, would want to experience this loving, unalloyed service that His loving servant are engaging in. Radha, and He, being the Supreme Person, the Supreme Enjoyer, wanted to taste everything. And we're invited to enter that world. When He came here, and Lord Chaitanya came here, and He is giving us a process to enter that world. And the sign that we're making progress, we begin to long for it. Our mind is directed upon that world, just like it's natural for the river, the water from the river and rivulets. The train that falls down on the mountain goes back to the ocean. It's natural. Now our focus now, our heart is directed upon that relationship. And the mind becomes pacified. It's now pacified because our heart is pacified, connected with the will of God when we chant the holy names. When Lord Krishna was enjoying his childhood pastimes with the boyfriends, one Agasura demon became very impatient. He was unable to see Krishna playing, so he appeared before the boys intending to kill them all. Agasur was so dangerous that even the denizens of heaven were afraid of him. Although the denizens of heaven drank nectar daily, to prolong their lives, they were afraid of this Agasura and were wondering, when will the demon be killed? The denizens used to drink nectar to become immortal, but actually they were not confident of their immortality. On the other hand, the boys were playing with Krishna and had no fear for the demon. So you can see here something that's really important. The denizens of the heaven, they drink nectar to prolong their lives, but they are not confident. Just like all these individuals who want to prolong their life in the body, and they identify with the body. They are vegan, they do exercise, jogging, everything. But the focus is not to take care of the body to serve God, but rather to perpetuate their existence in this miserable body. They are body huggers, or they want to embrace really the anchor of death, disease, old age, and death. But they want to live perpetually, eternally in the body. They think their existence depends upon the body. Their happiness depends upon the pleasure of the senses. So you can see how they portray it. And the epitome, or the someone who is on that, top, is when we hear the story of Hiranyakashipu, the number one individual who tries to be a survivalist. Hello? Are you a survivalist? You can, in the right direction. Okay? You try to survive in this body eternally thinking you're the body, then there are laws here. The laws of conservation of energy, because this body is made out of building blocks and it will always gravitate towards this earth when it breaks down. You'll always be anchored in this world. But you're eternal, a different energy. So the gravitation should be transcendental. It's about your love. Focus upon Krishna's love. The science of Bhakti Yoga, okay? And the devotees here, the devotees here are children. In reality, they're all transcendentalists. They are pure loving servants of the Supreme. They're all saintly person. They're all godly. So now we can see, I am divine. Activities I do, is it godly? Or is it worldly? That even the activities I do, even it's worldly, but under the guidance of the spiritual master, I can use this material energy to be in harmony, doing the will of God. So we're guided clearly, no doubt. So no need to imagine. When one is in contact with light, there's clarity. You see, the science we follow, we engage in. It is our eternal transcendental world, our true transcendental nature, eternal activities that has been stopped because we are now anchored in this gravitational world. The gravity is so strong, directed by the mind. We follow the horses, the senses, and this disease, this false ego, is already, the die is cast. You know the die? It's already cast. Or, you know, what do they call that? Yung libingan ni Chalila? The tomb is already covered. And the spiritual master, you know, tells us, explains us the truth. His transcendental glance alone brought here, and ending in only one page, okay. The demon Agasura appeared before Krishna and his friends. Agasura happened to be the younger brother of Putana and Bakasur. And he thought, Krishna has killed my brother and sister. Now I shall kill him, along with his friends and calves. Agasura was instigated by Kamsa, so he had come with determination. Agasura also began to think that when he would offer grains and water in memory of his brothers and kill Krishna and all the coward boys, then automatically all the inhabitants of Vrindavan would die. Generally, for householders, the children are the life and breath force. When all the children die, then naturally the parents also die on account of strong affection for them. Agasur, thus deciding to kill all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, expanded himself by the yogic siddhi Mahima. The demons are generally expert in achieving almost all kind of mystic power. In the yoga system, by perfection called Mahima Siddhi, one can expand himself as he desires. The demon Agasura expanded himself up to 8 miles and assumed the shape of a very fat serpent. Having attained this wonderful body, he stretched his mouth open just like a mountain cave. Diba, there are different layers of cloud. What is that lowest layer? Diba, there are different clouds. Oh, you're a science teacher, you cannot. So there's this layer of cloud, the first layer. So he stretched his mouth up to that layer. Okay, 8 miles. The demon, in the shape of a big fat serpent, expanded his lips from land to the sky. His lower lips was touching the ground and his upper lip was touching the clouds. His jaws appeared like a big mountain cave without limitation, and his teeth appeared just like mountain summits. His tongue appeared to be a broad traffic, and he was breathing just like a hurricane. The fire of his eyes were blazing. At first, the boys thought that the demon was a statue. But after examining it, they saw that it was more like a big serpent lying down on the road and widening his mouth. The boys began to talk among themselves. This figure appeared to be a great animal, and is sitting in such a posture just to swallow us all. Just see, it's not a big snake that has is it not a big snake that had widened his mouth to eat all of us? One of them said, "Yes, what you say is true. This animal upper lip appears to be just like the sunshine, and its lower lip is just like the reflection of red sunshine on the ground. Dear friends, just look to the right and left hand side of the mouth of the animal. Its mouth appeared to be like a big mountain cave, and its height cannot be estimated. The chin also raised just like a mountain summit. The long highway appears to be its tongue, and inside the mouth it is dark as in a mountain cave. The hot wind that is blowing like a hurricane is his breathing, and the fishy, bad smell coming out from his mouth is the smell of his intestines." Then they further consulted among themselves. If we all at one time entered into the mouth of this great serpent, how could it possibly swallow us all? And even if it were to swallow us all at once, it would not swallow Krsna. Krsna will immediately kill him, as he did Bakasur. Talking in this way, "Psst, hey, you're noisy at the back." Sino yun nandun? Talking in this way, all the boys looked at the beautiful lotus face of Krsna, and they began to clap and smile. And so they marched forward and entered the mouth of the gigantic serpent. Meanwhile, Krsna, who is the super soul within everyone's heart, could understand that the big statue figure was a demon. While he was planning how to stop the destruction of his intimate friends, all the boys, along with their cows and calves, entered the mouth of the serpent. But Krsna did not enter, so Krsna just stood and watched them. Everyone entered except Krsna, and who has killed many and this is the thinking of the demon. The demon was awaiting Krishna's entrance, and he was thinking, everyone has entered except Krsna, who has killed my brothers and sisters. Krsna is the assurance of safety to everyone. Krsna is the assurance of safety to everyone. But when he saw that his friends were already out of his hands and were lying within the belly of the great serpent, he became momentarily aggrieved. He was also struck with wonder how the external energy works so wonderfully. He then began to consider how the demon should be killed and how he could save the boys and calves. Although there was no factual concern on Krishna's part, he was thinking like that. Finally, after some deliberation, he also entered the mouth of the demon. When Krishna entered, all the demigods who had gathered to see the fun, who were hiding within the clouds, began to express their feeling with words, "Alas, alas." At the same time, all the friends of Agasura, especially Kamsa, who were all accustomed to eating flesh and blood, began to express their jubilation, understanding that Krishna also entered the mouth of the demon. When the demon was trying to smash Krishna and his companions, Krishna heard the demigods crying, "Alas, alas!" He immediately Haribol, "Hey, stop talking at the back. Nichalila, your voices comes across here ba? The people here are focusing on the pastimes of Lord Krishna." While the demon was trying to smash Krishna and his companions, Krishna heard the demigods crying, "Alas, alas!" He immediately began to expand himself within the throat of the demon. Although he had a gigantic body, the demon choked by the expanding of Krishna. His big eyes moved violently, and he quickly suffocated, and his life air could not come out from any source. And ultimately it burst out of the hole in the upper part of the skull. Thus his life air passed off. After the demon dropped dead, Krishna with his transcendental glance alone brought all the boys and cows back to consciousness and came with them out of the mouth of the demon. While Krishna was within the mouth of Aghasura, the demon spirit soul came out like a dazzling light, illuminating the direction. And waited in the sky. As soon as Krishna with his calves and friends came out on the mouth of the demon, the glittering effulgence immediately merged into the body of Krishna within the vision of the demigods. So this is a sign that he achieved the transcendental environment of the impersonal aspect of Lord Krishna. So the process that all these Kundalini yogi are doing, very hard to bring the life force through their head, meditating years and years, is achieved by Aghasura. When Lord Krishna killed him, the spirit soul, Aghasura, left the demons, the serpent body, and waited in the sky. So when Lord Krishna came out, he merged into the effulgence of Lord Krishna. He merged. The demigods became overwhelmed with joy and began to shower flowers on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And thus they worship him. The denizens of heaven began to dance in jubilation, and the denizens in Gandharva Loka began to offer various kinds of prayers. Drummers began to beat drums in jubilation. The Brahmanas began to recite Vedic hymns, and all the devotees of the Lord began to chant word Jaya Jaya, or victory, victory. All the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Lord Brahma heard those auspicious vibrations which sounded throughout the higher planetary system, he immediately came down to see what happened. He saw that the demon was killed, and he was struck with wonder at the uncommon glorious pastimes of the Personality of Godhead. The gigantic mouth of the demon remained in an open position for many days and gradually dried up. And it remained a spot of pleasure pastimes for all the cowherd boys. The killing of Aghasura took place when Krishna and all his boyfriends were under 5 years old. So it ends there. So you can see the pastimes of Lord Krishna with his cowherd boys. So the process of Bhakti Yoga is to focus our heart, our life in this transcendental world or activities doing the will of God. And through the process, we become purified. And we are now guided by the Lord within the heart. So our meditation now is not guided by material desires, but the material desires becomes purified. It is now the desire to do the will of God. And when we achieve perfection, Krishna promises to those who surrender to Him, He gives them protection. To those who are constantly thinking of Him in loving devotion, He protects them. So that is the assurance of Lord Krishna, and it was manifested 5,000 years ago. It is also manifested when Lord Chaitanya came here. And now we're in the situation that eternal activities wherein we can connect ourselves in loving remembrance comes as the holy names. Because the holy names of Krishna is complete, is non-different from God. The pastimes of Lord Krishna is in the holy names. The spiritual master is in the holy names. And the spiritual master is not different from the Supreme Person. They're all resident of the spiritual world. Pure, the world of Vaikuntha, activities that are eternal. And it is the path, the process we're engaging in. So this human form of life that we have now, temporary in this body, we can succeed through this process. Because we can use this body, make a choice, make the right decision, not by our own power, but make the right decision to embrace Lord Krishna, to be protected by His own desire, His own will, His love. That is the process we are following, engaging in. And it is connected with the yoga sound. Okay? Is it clear to everyone? So now, before we part ways and chant, we will chant together. Where's my beads? Gor, can you please give me my bead? No. Can you please? So we'll do japa yoga. Yeah. So it's a discipline you do, that with the power of the holy names, Krishna, the mind will be directed. Mind, Maha Mantra. Mantra means to draw the mind away from matter. Huh? All of you have experienced negative thoughts in your mind, yeah? Yeah? Anger, lust, envy, and you're embarrassed. If, for example, you're standing there and you can see your mind, there's envy, there's greed, and hate. It's all in the mind. And what happens is that you feel embarrassed if somebody sees what's in your mind. Do you experience that? All of you? And you try to refrain, but what if this person begins to see what I'm thinking? Huh? You have experienced that, all of you? But it's very hard not to be angry when you identify with the mind. You're directed by the mind. You don't want. And when you're angry, you're the one suffering. You're angry at someone, you're the one suffering. You don't want to be angry because it's like there's sikhism, or it goes against the grain of the gentle soul of the person. You don't want to experience that. But if you're so much in the world, you enter that world, you're in hell. Driven by lust, this burning lust, you'll be suffering. And now Krishna comes. Just like when it's like the land is so dry, nothing is growing because it's summer, or there's this, what do they call that when there's no rain? Huh? In English, no, not El Nino. Like for example, Utopia, for 7 or 9 years, there's no rain there. What? Drought. Okay, drought. Okay, that's it. When the living entity asks, our heart is like an empty heart. drought. When we're not connected with life, the Supreme Person, although we're life, not divine. Understand? So when you chant the holy names, this japa yoga, we develop this practice that God Himself gives us this life, give us this happiness. So okay? So let's do japa yoga as a practice because we've been conditioned to fiddle, with cell phone, laptop, and bite our fingers, and try to control our stress and emotion we want to experience calmness, by eating our fingers. So use this hand, this bead. So I taught you yesterday how to do it. So let's chant together. We chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one round, okay? For the benefit of the audience and for our benefit, okay? This bead, the bead is the symbolic of the spiritual master. We offer our respect to Parampara, our spiritual master. Then after that, you chant one round. If you continue to chant, when you reach here, you don't overlap or go beyond. You come back, okay? So it's very important that if you can chant this half beat, half round, even for 5 times a day, you divide it in a day, you put time in the morning when you wake up, or during lunchtime when you want to rest, you can chant. In your light moments, you can meditate and chant the holy names, and you can decide clearly. And in the evening, before you go to sleep, the mind will be, sometimes people have sleepless night, insomnia, So when you chant the holy names, your mind becomes calm. And you're able to see that, yes, all the issues I did experience, I have experienced, all of us have experienced, it's already gone. But we remember that. We remember that. And we know it has caused us so much pain because all of us have issues. We have engaged in so many simple activities. So the holy names will purify. Just like when this person, he said he did this years back, but the body, the medium you used to engage in that simple activity is gone already. But the database, the mind is there. Yeah? So instead of trying to diminish or deja vu, remember all of that, because there's a force that will let you remember all of that. And what we should be remembering is the guidance within, the Lord within the heart. And when we chant the holy names of the Supreme Person, we are in harmony with that, with that person who will guide us. Okay? Let's chant the Hare Krishna mantra. You say it loudly. You can close your eyes. You don't need to follow me. Say it and chant the holy names at your own pace. And it will be nice and effective if you hear the holy names. And now you can see now that you are forcing your tongue to chant. You're forcing your mind to chant. You're making a decision to say and utter the holy names. But it will become natural when we become purified from these material encumbrances, when we become free from material disease. Okay, let's chant together. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pastimes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Say it, you can hear it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Sarupaya Radha Krishna Pastate. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam. Haribol Namaste. So the process we follow is sustainable. It is, in a truest sense, what is inseparable from us. Our love, our service to the Supreme Person. So if you apply this process, your protection, your connection, your shelter will be sustainable because it is a choice activities you do in connecting yourself with your eternal transcendental world of engaging in doing the will of God. And the more you practice it, the more you become close, the more we become purified, the more we come to the point of pure unalloyed devotional service. So we are protected every moment because time is connected with this, connects us, the time influence is connected with this body, but you, the person, you're transcendental to time, you're eternal. So you can take hold of Krishna and embrace him through this japa meditation, that when you travel, even without this body, your mind, your meditation, your desire is completely in this world that satisfies, protects you. You now experience satiation of the heart and the calmness of the mind because you are now able to realize and understand and engage in activities that activities that are eternal, pure devotional service. Is it clear to all? So now you have a choice. What you can take, what you can do in your life. When you leave this body, when you're in this body. Every activities you do, you can chant the holy names so you can decide clearly under the direction and under the protection of the Supreme Person who loves us eternally, who wishes us well, our eternal friend, Lord Krishna, and the Lord within the heart, and the Lord from the outside, our spiritual master, the initiating spiritual master. Haribol, Namaste.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namine, Gora Karuna Swalpaya, Radha Krishna Prestayate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namine, Gora Karuna Swalpaya, Radha Krishna Prestayate.
Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Narayana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Narayana, Krishna